Suicide Notes, Day 21. A couple of years ago, my dad took us all to Hawaii over spring break. One of the things we did there was learn how to scuba dive. It was sort of fun, even though when we first got to the pool to learn how to use all the gear, I was afraid the air would just run out and I'd drown, but I got used to it. And let me tell you, there are some far out stuff underwater. Our instructor said that something like 70% of the world is covered in water, and less than 1% of the population ever gets to go under there and look around. So when you do, you're seeing stuff that not many people get to see. My favorite was this fish that kept swimming up to my mask and butting its head against it. I had no idea what he was doing, but when we got back to the surface, the instructor said the fish was trying to fight his reflection in my mask. That's how I feel being in this place, like I'm a diver looking at a bunch of really strange fish. Take today. For our group session, Cat Poop, who by the way shaved off his goatee, so that's another point for me, had us do this completely retarded exercise. First, he split us into two teams. Again, I ended up with Juliet, which left Sadie and Rankin. Martha got to be the audience, since she still isn't exactly talking a blue streak. Then we had to pick these slips of paper out of 3 different boxes. The first one was a setting. The second, a situation, and the third was a line of dialogue. The idea was that we had to come up with a skit using the 3 different things. We had 10 minutes to come up with something, and then we had to perform it. I let Juliet pick the slips. Our setting was a theater. Our situation was that someone had forgotten something, and our line of dialogue was, "Would you like another cookie?" When we looked at what we had, we both groaned. I mean, come on, what are you supposed to do with that? Well, that's the whole point of the exercise, right? So we went off in a corner and threw some ideas around. Juliet is the one who came up with the idea for the husband forgetting his wife's name. Brilliant. It totally worked. I was the husband and Juliet was my wife. The idea was that we run into someone I work with during intermission at a play, and I'm trying to introduce my wife. But for some reason, I can't remember her name. I decided to use Martha for the third person since she wouldn't have to say anything. She stood there and Juliet and I pretended to run into her. I kept saying things about how great the show was, trying to avoid introducing my wife to Martha, and the whole time Juliet was pretending to eat these cookies she had in her purse. That was how we got the line of dialogue in. Juliet kept offering me cookies. Okay, so you kind of had to be there. Trust me, it was good. At least we thought it was. Sadie and Rankin's skit was better than ours, but in our defense, I have to say it's because they got way better things to work with. Their setting was a spaceship, their situation was that they were lost, and their line was, "How did we get in here?" The 2 of them sat in side-by-side chairs like they were piloting a spaceship. Sadie was the captain and Rankin was the brand new navigator on his first trip into space. He had managed to get them lost and was arguing about it with the captain. While they were fighting, a fly was buzzing around, making everything worse. That's when Rankin's character said, "How did that get in here?" and opened a window in the ship to shoo the fly out. Because they were in space, they both got sucked out the window along with the fly, which the 2 of them acted out by rolling around on the floor together and screaming. See what I mean about watching a lot of weird fish? Sometimes they look normal, but then one day they go and do something that totally surprises you, and it gets them landed in a place like this. I don't think anyone who knows me would ever have thought I'd do what I did, but I did.